David Morrell.
Yeah.
Second round knockout, Sean Agbeko. I hope I said that right. Afterwards, Sean Agbeko he had some shit to say. He had something to say about Minnesota not doing testing, that him and Morrell had agreed to testing, that it never happened, and that he thinks Morrell is a dirty fighter.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's boxing, so it's possible. We've seen this before. And Minnesota is an awkward spot to be in for boxing, especially being a Cuban. You know what I mean? I don't know why a Cuban would want to make his fan base out of Minnesota. You know what I mean? When Miami is the spot, that's where a lot of Cubans be. California, there's a lot of Cubans out there. You know what I mean? So for him to make Minnesota his spot, it is like it is an interesting topic. Like, man, why? Like, why are we going up here? And then if he said that they were supposed to be tested and they didn't get tested, that's also interesting. It's also something to talk about. And David Morrell, I like David Morrell. He can fight, explosive fighter, good size on him, fast, good power. But we seeing it. They doing the same thing they did with a lot of guys. Like these guys, the guys they bringing in, they got good records, but they not guys that's really like, they not really on that level, and you could tell. You know what I mean? And he doing what he's supposed to do. I think if they put him in there right now with Benavidez or Canelo, they'll be mad. I think things will go left.
To be fair, he's fighting in his 4th, 5th, and 6th fight guys that he's supposed to be fighting in his 16th, 17th, 18th fight.
When you talk about amateur pedigree, is that true? The amateurs give you advantage. When you've been fighting since you was about 7, 8 years old, and you probably got 200 amateur fights, and you fighting a guy who got 26 pro fights but might have had 10 amateur fights. He's still learning. You still learning too, but he's still learning how to box. You know how to box. You just learning how to really apply pressure and turn over a punch. You know what I mean? Opposed to the amateur style where you're just scoring. So he already coming in with advantages. That's why he's fighting the guys he's fighting.
No, I understand that, but at the same time, Jay, he's not like he medaled like Keyshawn. He didn't medal like Rigo, Andy Cruz.
Yeah.
So with those guys, they normally start like fast. Like Andy's fighting, contenders or guys that used to be contenders in his 1st and 2nd fight.
Yeah, but it's like, it's tough. It's tough, man. It's a 50-50 thing. But me, I seen guys with 80 fights that, you know what I mean, they can handle them type of fights. You know what I mean? But then, I don't know, man. It's rough. It's rough because it's some truth to what you're saying. He don't have that many fights. That was only his 10th fight. True. But we talking about Cuba. Cuba is known for the boxing pedigree. We know it's a great school of boxing. And you fight an African who moved to Maryland or wherever he moved to, and he's like, come on, bro. It's not the same. I'm not saying Africa has never put out any great fighters. They have. But when you talk about Cuban history, the Cuban
is an actual system.
It's very rich. Like, it's very rich. And they know how to box. And it's like, yeah, this guy got 26 fights, 27 fights, but never a David Morrell. Never anybody like that. That's why he had the wins he had. But then you put him in there with David Morrell, it looks good. His body cut up, he got the muscles, playing the part, he acting like he really want to rumble. But then you see, he get hit with a shot, he didn't even know what to do. He really didn't know what to do. So that's what I mean by like the education part, where the guy's outclassed before he even got in the ring. And a lot of times they know that, especially the guys who run in the game, they know that. But a guy like, see, some people might make this argument. Well, David Benavidez didn't have all those amateur fights. True, but has been boxing grown men since he was 13 because of his size. He was bigger than the average kid, so he couldn't fight anyway. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't get too many fights anyway. So if I'm 14, 15, and I'm boxing Triple G, and I'm boxing Kelly Pavlik, come on, bro. That's a lot more experience than a guy having probably 50 amateur fights. Because you learn from world champion caliber fighters. You know what I'm saying? As a kid. Now, every time you put him in there with a kid, he beating him up. You get what I'm saying? So now, as a pro, after building his confidence, getting him in great shape, he running everything over. That's a special case, but that don't happen all the time. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. There's some arguments on both sides. I ain't mad at him. But the thing about fighting in Minnesota is skeptical. It is a little like Minnesota. Like, I mean, that's a football spot. Like, it's cold up there. Nobody want to be up there. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in Minnesota. I don't want to fight there. You know what I'm saying? It's cold as ever out there. I don't want to be up there. If I'm from Philly and I'm trying to train, I really want to lock in. I want to go somewhere warm. If I'm from Cuba, I want to go somewhere warm. I don't want to be in Minnesota. And I know he trained in Houston.
Yeah, the Eagles won the Super Bowl in Minnesota, and I always wanted to go to an Eagles Super Bowl game, obviously. But when I found out where it was in the wintertime, I'm like, nah, dog. I'm done.
Yeah, he's fighting cold. So to try to build a fan base out there, that was something that was kicked to him. That wasn't his idea. I don't think that was his idea. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick Minnesota. What do he know about Minnesota? Let's be real. If he coming from Cuba and he gets signed to whoever, what does he know about? He barely know about America. Why would he pick Minnesota? You know what I'm saying? We learn. I imagine people from different countries, when they learn about America, you hear New York, California, Florida, sometimes Philly. If you're talking about boxing,
if you're talking about if you're talking about boxing, Phillies.
Nobody's talking about Minnesota, bro. And it was a while ago. I remember Ivan Barancik. It wasn't Minnesota. I'm not sure. It wasn't Minnesota, but it was somewhere where they had him fighting, and I kind of felt like they was doing the same thing with him. You know what I mean? And if they didn't test like they were supposed to, that is interesting. You need to look into it. You know what I mean? But I feel like Agbeko didn't have a chance anyway, to be honest.
Is it a bad look that Agbeko brings it up after the fight instead of before?
Well, he's chancing getting paid. They'll tell him to get out of here, and they'll find a short notice guy, fight him. People, boxing is crazy, man. Boxing is just like the world. It's crazy. So nothing surprises me, you know what I mean? And I understand why he didn't say nothing before, because they would have told him, yo, if you believe that, you keep pushing for that, you keep trying to put this narrative out there, you know what, go ahead. You're not going to get paid nothing. You know what I mean? Dudes need to make money at the end of the day, so a guy will shut his mouth about a fight. I mean, because to him, it's all right, it's still just a fight. I'm going to still go in there and see. But then after knowing you had a great camp or what you think is a great camp, then you go in there and get blown out the water, it's like, yo, he got to be on something. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he is, but I don't know neither. You know what I mean?